Hi and Assalamualaikum everyone. Today my group consists of Sabrina, Nurul Adila and me myself, Amira Nabiha. We will present the relevance of moral philosophy for moral and Islamic education. The first presenter, who is Nurul Adila, she will present about relevance of moral philosophy for moral education. And she will stress on these 4 points, which are: moral philosophy empowers individuals to reflect upon and think. Next, moral education teacher can help students draw on philosophical. After that, the presenter will elaborate how moral philosophy introduces individuals to the different perspectives and unique sides. And last but not least, moral philosophy helps individuals live a good life. Without further ado, let's give the floor to the first presenter.
Before I continue with my topic, do you ever thought the relevance of moral philosophy to moral education? If not, don't worry. I'll give a few points on this matter. First point, moral philosophy empowers us students through its method and substance to reflect upon and talk about challenges in moral issues that happen surround us. When studying ethics, it can even propel a personal journey, where we learn about ourselves and the way we think. We might also even learn about others and the different way of their thinking. Second point is, moral education teachers may help students draw on the philosophical by providing understanding, concept and distinction, knowing what makes arguments valid and attending to a counter arguments. When teachers and students can get on those skills that are vital in the age-old business of moral argument, which involve the moral principles, appealing to reason, and comparing analogous cases. Because moral norms are not tangible or scientifically testable, we need conceptual clarity to avoid talking past each other. Third point is, moral education is at its best when it introduces students to different perspectives had in moral philosophy and their unique insight. As we can see, most moral theories build on core insight. Utilitarianism tells us on the consequences on the other's well-being matters. Deontology emphasizes that morality requires each person accepting they are duty-bound to act in certain ways towards others. Virtue theories remind us that character drives action and that ethical life carries its own reward. This insight will provide a valuable perspective on the larger mosaic of human moral life. Last point is, moral education helps students individually live a good life, at the same time become productive, contributing members in communities. In this view, moral education should not contribute only on student individual, but also to the social cohesion of community.
Okay, next, we will proceed to the second presenter, who is Sabrina. She will explain about relevance of moral philosophy for Islamic education. So basically, the presenter will stress or focuses on these 4 points, which are 3 main values in a good Muslim and its similarity with some theories in moral philosophy. She also will explain 2 main aspects of moral education in Islam and how does it relate with the theory in moral philosophy. Next, she also will elaborate more about the point remarkable consistency of approach across the Muslim world. And lastly, she will talk about tasks of moral educator. So here we go, second presenter.
I will proceed with the second part, which is the relevance of moral philosophy in Islamic education. So for most Muslims, what is considered halal or permitted and haram, forbidden in Islam, is understood in terms of what God defines as right and good. So there are 3 main kinds of values. The first one is ahlak, which refers to the duties and responsibilities set out in the Sharia and in Islamic teaching generally. The second one is adab, which refers to the manners associated with good breeding. And the third one is the quality of character possessed by a good Muslim, following the example of Prophet Muhammad SAW. So we can see the similarities in the virtue traits, where Aristotle proposed several virtue traits that every person must have. There are civility, cooperativeness, courage, fairness, friendliness, generosity, honesty, justice, and basically all of the good virtues that a person should have. Next, the first thing that strikes one about moral education in Islam is that there is a remarkable consistency of approach across the Muslim world and across the countries. So we can take an example of Al-Ghazali and Khinalizadeh. Al-Ghazali is a famous and highly influential scholar who lived during the Arab Empire and who was at the very forefront of the intense academic debates of the time. Khinalizadeh lived at the height of the Ottoman Empire and served as a teacher and judge, but made a much more modest contribution to intellectual thinking. In spite of these differences in background, however, there is a high level of commonality in their views of moral education. Both scholars emphasize the role of parents in the moral upbringing of their own children. Both consider a child to be tabula rasa, on which good habits can be imprinted. Both also discuss the tendency of young children to imitate others and hence stress the importance of encouraging good friendships and setting them a good example. They also discuss the importance of learning discipline, self-sufficiency and restraint, as well as generosity, politeness and humility. They agree that teachers should genuinely care about their pupils, their students, avoid excessive harshness, and encourage games as a way of relaxing and unwinding, as well as a way of familiarizing them with the concept of rules. In the context of Islamic teaching and practice, being a moral educator involves 2 tasks. The first one is giving children and young people the knowledge of what they should and should not do, which is understanding the reasons for the behavior is in a sense considered less important than knowing what is right and may come later. And second is giving them the motivation or the will to behave morally. So ultimately, moral education is about inner change, which is spiritual matter and comes about through the internalization of universal Islamic values. So with regard to the transmission of moral knowledge, the knowledge itself is unlikely to vary much from country to country, since it is based on the main Islamic sources of the Quran and the Hadith. More likely to vary are the structure, the approach, and the methods. So we can relate this with the epistemology of knowledge in Cartesian versus Heidegger, where Cartesian believed that knowledge is truth. Meanwhile, Heidegger made a distinction between truth and knowledge in the book Heidegger and the Problem of Knowledge. As we have learned the distinction of truth and knowledge by Heidegger, we can understand that Al-Quran is the truth as it was revealed through the divine intervention, it does not have an expiry date, and it was not contaminated by the society. With the inclusion of Western models of schooling in some Muslim countries, there is even more diversity of educational provision in the present day. In traditional Muslim school, the main distinction in the teaching of moral education is between the full integration of the subject into Islamic studies and the planning of moral education as a separate component. Teaching methods vary in terms of learning styles, the use of punishment, dependence on memorization, use of visual aids, computers and other resources, the inclusion of discussion of contemporary moral issues, and many others.
Now, I would like to conclude. The first thing that we can see very clearly is moral philosophy helps analyze and evaluate complex logics, arguments, and issues. Besides, moral philosophy also help us to view certain issues from various angles. In addition, we learn how to assort ideas and opinions in an organized manner. We also learn to understand and appreciate opinions that differ from our own. And last but not least, theories of ethics and morality will help us to take reasonable and responsible decisions. Thank you so much for listening and have a nice day.